Okay, get back on these 61 heads here. I'm not going to finish them up tonight, but I'm going to get all the measurements figured out here. Getting late, so I have all night to work on it. Let's see here. So we need to figure out what our coil bindings are going to be here, and our valve to valve and all that stuff. Tired. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is check my dimensions here for clearance. So I don't know what Y cams have for clearances. So we got our Andrew's spec sheet here. Y cam is 206 by 182. So basic is 210 by what do you remember? 182. 210 by 190. Those are easy to remember. Okay, so intake exhaust. So just do a quick measurement. Just over 800, so go down to 600 would be 200. 10. Go over here. This one's like 190. We're at like 80. So a little bit past that number there. That's probably 200 over there. Spin around, you look at them. We got a lot of clearance. So, typical Sportster, you don't have any clearance issues. You have a big gap in the middle. Alright, so we don't have to worry about that. That's good. So, as long as nothing slid on me when I measured it. Yep. And that one there was 6. Goes up to 8. Yep, so they were all there. Okay, so we have to worry about valve to valve. So now we're just going to worry about coil bind clearance and then valve to seal, retainer to guide clearance. So the retainer right here is on here. And you got your lift right here. Let's say it was 500 thou. That's 500 thou right here. So you got to have some clearance. So this has enough clearance here for 500 lift, but not with a seal on it. So you have to shorten the guide up to make room for the seal. The other thing you got to make sure you got room is your retainer. Your lower retainer has room too. Now these retainers here are modified quite a bit. So these are not stock at all. So we're going to see what we're going to do on the list too. Ooh, yeah, tired. Okay, here's a stock looking retainer. So someone took this retainer and blew the whole center out. So now it sits over the guide instead of on top of the guide. Now when you do that kind of stuff, you have to modify your heads. So these heads have been modified. See how the surface is unmachined right here, and it's been machined here. Someone cut that. So now when you put this one over the top of the guide, see how it goes over the top of the guide there? And it'll also have something to sit on flat. And I put this on upside down so I get it back off easily. Easier said than done. Because I have no fingernails to grab with. And gravity's not helping me. Okay. So this normally sits this direction. So these heads have been cut to run them down further. I don't like having retainers sitting right on top of a hot ass head. So I like having them up in the air. So where's the stock ones? The stock retainer sits up in the guide, and see the big gap between the head and the collar. So that means it doesn't cooler. Doing the heat dissipation is right there. Everything else you got oil on top of this to help cool it. So the valve spring will run cooler. So that's a plus. Plus on this here, if you cut into the port right there, that limits how much I can cut on this side over here because it gets real thin. So sometimes you do stuff like that, you hit daylight right there. Or it'll crack and start leaking while you're riding the bike. That happens too. So I don't like doing that stuff. Alright, this motor should not require anything like that. Okay, so right now we need to figure out our coil bind clearances on these springs. These are kibble white. so I'm going to take the stock collar and the modified collar. And the top one, we're going to go measure stuff. Figure out what we got here. So I'm putting goo all over this one. Imagine that. Now let's make sure this is actually the same piece. Little clearance. A lot of clearance. Probably the same, this has dirt on it. Okay, now someone said I was destroying the collar when I cut the top off of it. Like this. See, I machined this here to make room for the seal. And I mean, it looks like that when I'm done after I cut it. Obviously it's a different model, but same thing. Now this guy here got a little more carried away. He cut everything away. So not only you don't have any guide, you don't have anything. So they were complaining about the spring not having any support when I cut that lip off. Because that's the support for the spring. Well, most springs there's interference fit. On a Sportster you can obviously see there's not. So this spring is free to walk around. Well, it can walk around until it hits something. It also hit on the guide over here a little bit. Obviously it's not going to, it's really loose. It's not hitting on this, and obviously with that gone, it ain't going to hit there either. So on a Sportster application, yeah, it's kind of a negative. The thing is, if you want to put a valve seal in a motor that never had a valve seal, you have to do something to make room for the valve seal. So that's what you got to do. So this is the valve seal. Valve seal does not fit in there, see. Now some guys take them, they put a big, take it with a drill and just make a big center taper in there. Then the seal will sit down inside the guide and you still get a little bit of collar for support. The problem with that is these things are not a very good tight fit and they suck oil. As the valve goes up, you can suck oil up with it. And then next time it goes down, it pumps it into the motor. So it makes like a little oil pump going. A little plunger pump back and forth. And yes, I have had them suck oil like that. So what I do is I take Loctite, I put it on the guide to help seal it up and hold it down. I'd rather blow this whole thing off and let the thing float around, let the oil dissipate, not be on here. So the spring's a little bit loose in here. Oh well, it's just going to have to, it's going to float where it wants to go to. It's under tension, it's not going to float a ton, but it's free to move around. That's a disadvantage. Oh well. Life is not perfect. On big twins, the springs interfere with each other, you don't have that problem. Okay, so I need this here. Need all of these here. I'm going to go over to the valve spring checking department. That would be not that place. Turn the light on. That'd be over here at the vise. Okay, so now let's go over here and we measure stuff. Okay, lay all my springs out right here so I don't lose them. I got my collars. Okay, so we're going to put them in the vise right here and squeeze them up. First thing I'm going to take the modified collar, stick it in there, take the top collar, put it together. Now when you measure a spring, you have a flat spot and a round spot. It's really hard to measure in a round spot. It's a lot easier to measure on a machine flat surface. So right here you got two flat machine surfaces. You can actually measure with a caliper or you just do a scale. Now when the spring is smaller than the collar, you can't measure just the spring. So I'm going to use my scale. Now you know what a scale is? That'd be this thing. I don't know why they call it a scale. That's what they call it. Also they call it rulers or rules. Short line. Ruler is usually 12 inches long. It's a rule. Now, I think the reason they call it scale is because you have different dimensions here. So you can call each one of these little dimensions a scale. It's not a scale like weighing, it's a scale what like a graph would be. So anyway, this one here is in tenths of inches. This side is over here is in 10,000ths of inches. Over here you got fractional, you got 32nds and 64s. So you got 4 different rulers in one. I like using this little small ones here, you can barely see. Every one of those mark is 10,000ths, halfway is 5, a third is 3,000ths. You can guess pretty close. When your eyes are good, you can measure within 3,000 pretty accurately. When your eyes are getting crappy like mine, I can read 10. A few more years, probably won't be that good. Okay, so this one is basically 750. Okay, I'm going to take out the modified one and put in this one, see if there's any difference. Measure the same spot. Coil bind is when it stops moving, don't force it. That's past coil bind. Okay, with my collar in here, we have 775. So we lost a little bit. So my guess is there's a different height in these two. I'll measure that next to see what the difference is. But when you get really close, you can measure on the edge, and see I'm getting about 775 there. That's how you measure it. So you can get pretty close with a piece of crap you can put in your pocket. Walk around with it anywhere, instead of carrying around a big caliper. That's a big caliper. This doesn't work as good in your pocket as one of these here does. And I'm just as accurate with this as I am with this, at least I used to be. Not quite the same anymore. Okay. Okay, so this is 775. Okay, so let's measure the difference here. So this one here is 127 thick there. We zero it. And you measure that one, and that gives you the height of that one, 830. Okay, now we go here and do the same thing on this one. Measure right there. Oh, same number, within 1 thou. That's pretty close. 73. So why does this have less clearance when it's thinner? That doesn't make sense at all. So this one here is 10 thou less height on the shoulder than this one. Yet this one bottoms out and this one doesn't. That's really weird. That's the opposite of what it should be. 843, 842. Same dimensions there. I don't understand why it's that way. It should be the opposite. So maybe it has to do with me, the way I put in the vise, maybe? I don't know. So if in doubt, what do? Check it again. Something's wrong. Same spring, same collars, same things. Same basic dimension, same relative position of vise. Tighten it the same way. Stops right there. Does it repeat? No, it does not. It's about 770 now. That's when it was 750 before. Turn it 180. A bit harder to measure there because I'm in the rounded part of the spring, but let's see if we can see a difference here. Now we're coil binding on the inner spring, not the outer. Same thing. Now what I mean by coil bind is it's exactly what I said. Coil. These are coils. When they coil bind, they stick together to hit. Obviously the upper one here is not coil bound. The inner one is. Because we have a big gap in the spring right here. See how it goes right in there? Nice and loose. But see, we can't go through the inner one. I kind of force it through right there, but it's tight. So my guess is probably hitting on this side of the vise over here. Okay, so this one here is at 760-ish or so. This should be more, not less, than the other one. Okay, take that out, put the other collar in here. Rotate it back around to where it was. About 760 this time. Alright. So we're going to call that roughly around 760 to 770. If in doubt, add a little extra. So extra would be called 770. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it'd be nice to be within a few thou. That's about the same thing, around 765, 770 area. So the springs are pretty accurate. I think these are Kibble-Right springs, but I'm not sure. It's probably the whole stuff was theirs originally. They have a kit for iron heads now. Usually I use Manley springs. Or not Manley, excuse me, Andrews springs. Who makes those? Manley makes them, not Andrews. Gotta remember there, I forget. Okay, this one is slightly more in 780 area. So we'll put that on this side so we don't mix it up with those two, because those two seem to be pretty close. About 780-ish also. Maybe 75, but close enough. So we got too short, too long. Okay, so now we just take all these, take them back. Just don't mix up the short ones and the long ones. Someone sent a comment back that there was a machine for checking all that. Yeah, whatever. I have a vise. I know how to check stuff with my vise. There's a spring checker, checks spring tension. It doesn't really, not made to check coil bind. I'm sure the owner of the machine would not like the coil binding their machine on them all the time. It's hard on it, but yeah, whatever. Do what you want, I guess. Okay, so these are two longer ones. These are two shorter ones. As long as you keep them in a different area, you don't mix them. Okay. So now we got some rough idea where we're at. Okay, next thing is the camshaft. We got to figure out how much lift a stock P-cam has, because I don't know. All right, be right back.